So thank you on behalf of Mark, Sue, and myself. We want to thank you for sharing your time with us today. As it said on our the FANG website, this is more going to be like just a roundtable discussion. So we definitely want to hear from you. Raise your hand, put questions in the chat. Basically talking about the CFO, like those of us, either CFO, directors, or the highest finance person in the organization that you work for, depending on size. The title will change, but basically looking at that role and really kind of just having a discussion about, what the technology that supports us and really how to kind of hone in on how do we where do we start? How do you get there, from here? And really looking at all the pieces of the puzzle that we have. So with that, John Nichols, our other co-chair, he had an unexpected emergency come up literally earlier, a couple hours ago. So he sent an email that he wasn't able to join us, but we are recording this so that we can kind of make sure we don't miss any comments, notes, or whatever. And it's not going to be posted on YouTube or anything like that, but it is going to be available for us just so that we can take what we get out of today's meeting and apply it to future sessions, which is, what we want to do. So anyway, I'll share my screen. We have a couple of slides that we're going to basically be the things that we discussed today and kind of like what we want to talk about. So this is just our intro screen. Hold on. Basically, we're going to talk about, what's the 2024 budget process? How do we get things going based on what we've learned this year? Measure what, how do we look at measuring what matters to us, specific to whatever industry or company we're with, depending on size, and then understanding the various KPIs that maybe other departments look to, such as sales, marketing, engineering, and kind of be able to hone in on how do we help with all our financial numbers with their KPIs, and how does that help us translate the information as to how we're doing. This next screen is a little scary. It's a lot of stuff on it, and it was basically put together by our very own Mark. So, and not to worry, we're going to take pieces of it, but really what this is basically our world on one page. It's us in the organization, it's, various KPIs, dashboards, things that are of interest to us as accountants and what we've learned about, what our customers, our CEOs, our other department leads, the other VPs, the non-financial people, what they want, and, the people that we get the expertise from outside of our industry, outside of our own organization. So this is kind of like, this summarizes it all. And as convoluted as it appears, that is pretty much, I think, as convoluted as our work lives can be. But what we're really looking at is, what are the basics, right? So basically, as the head person in our company's finance group, this is a basic organization, right? I mean, you may have more boxes here or less boxes here, but in a nutshell, this is it no matter where you go. We have our responsibilities are to be stewards of of the capital, of the assets of the organization. And when we do that, we influence, and we're influenced by everybody, the customers, our partners, our outside people, the public, any of our vendors, our suppliers, everybody, the banks. And then our responsibilities in one way, shape, or form encompass all of this. Yes, we do the accounting. Yes, we have to deal with finance. Yes, we have to deal with tax and planning and compliance for most of us, treasury. And basically, we all have the same priorities. Doesn't really matter where you go. We have to look at growth, we have to look at our efficiencies, and we have to look at cash flow. That's that in a nutshell. That's us. We do this by a whole bunch of processes. And again, in various shapes or forms or in various sizes, we all somehow do a budgeting process, whatever that means. And there's, the 4 basic types of budgeting, zero-based, activity-based, when we just add increments, and then we look at the value proposition. If our business is aligned with subscription management, we have to figure out those processes and what we do with that, and follow the rules and compliance with that. We have a financial planning and analysis process that some of us get really, really into it, and others of us, it's like, yeah, at the end of the year, we kind of look at it for hours. And then we also look at the finance for the non-financial people. What does our revenue stream mean? What does it mean? What is our inventory management, cost of goods sold? What's our profits? How do we interpret, or how do we help our colleagues and our customers and the outside world interpret the lovely numbers that we all put together? And then we all basically need tools to do all this. So all the stuff that we say we have to do it, in some way, shape, or form. And there's a lot of technology out there that allows us to do it, from the basics, which is whatever your basic accounting platform is, technology to help us run payroll, technology to help us manage our customer base, receivables, who owes us, who we owe, ways to do our cash intake and cash outlay, so payment management processes, planning processes, tools. The business intelligence, I know, is a big buzzword in these last few years, like what all this means. But again, for all of us, no matter the size of our business, we all are impacted, and these tools help us in one way, shape, or form. And then again, looking at the measured results, depending on our industry, how we have to measure. And, we may do one, we may do two, we may do all, we may do none of these, because again, it's really from where we are. But at the end of the day, I think all of us know that these are the things we have to look at. We have to look at sales, we have to look at finance, not just the finance, but, what's the sales, what's our marketing department doing? And then of course, HR, which seems to somehow get left behind. These things matter, because if we're looking at ways to be a sustaining organization or grow, HR is going to play a real big part of that. But I'm going to bring it to Mark to kind of pick up on diving into a little bit more details. And while we're doing this, if anyone has any questions, just either raise your hand or unmute so that we kind of know what you're doing, or put something in the chat, and we'll help do that. I'll help monitor that.
Okay, thank you, Adriana. So this is a big diagram, and it's a good reference when you need to see kind of like what are some of the metrics and KPIs that I need to prepare for the board, what's important for different departments. So everyone will get a copy. If you want one, just let us know. We'll send you a copy of this. And it goes through all the relative performance metrics as well. For example, I usually work with startups in SaaS. So a lot of the SaaS metrics are here. And also kind of where you want to be if you're a Series A, Series B, or Series C company in terms of metrics related to ARR growth, new logos, gross dollar retention, and also net dollar retention, all the way down to kind of like what should you be for gross margin, sales and marketing, R&D as a percentage, and also your cash burn ratio. On the right is the sales KPI that we touched on, but also it's good to have this language nailed down when you talk to the chief revenue officer or head of sales, so they could kind of get an idea of what the efficiency metrics are as you prepare for next year's 2024 budget. 2023 for most people was kind of rocky, so I would imagine not too many people really exceeded their budget for metrics for 2023. So it's really about calibrating these particular metrics in sales and also marketing. Also, marketing for most people, when you get to their marketing budget, is based on kind of like what was it last year program spend, what should it be as a percentage of increase or decrease from last year, but also looking deeply into kind of where are we getting the returns in marketing, return on ad spend. Remember, everything has gotten more expensive, particularly the digital channels. Field events have gotten more expensive. All those things should be factored in as you think about your budget. So when I zoom out, you'll notice that it is kind of a lot of information, but it's easy to navigate. And the reason I created this was, oftentimes we would get the same questions, kind of like, how do I measure this? What is the metric? How should I be if I want to be a best-in-class company? How should my growth look? What should my gross margins be? For example, most software companies, their gross margin should be 70%. That makes a good company, a great company. If you're 50%, now you have some work to do. Typically, that means you should create a gross margin task force and see why margins are not where they should be. We also have, and it's time to fundraise, looking at valuation of how do you value enterprise? So valuation methodologies for DCF, EV, EBITDA multiple, and also the present value of future cash flows. One thing that I also did was, as we work with auditors, I added some the top 30 accounting firms. And also for those that are looking to raise money from venture capitalists for their equity rounds, these are the top VCs in the US. You also have the term sheet guide, so you could kind of understand the language when you do get a term sheet from the investors. So it's good to kind of understand what does it mean to have liquidation preferences, a valuation cap, and all these other metrics. So what we're going to do now is kind of like, okay, well, we're performing our operational role at the company. So I want to share a spreadsheet, and I'm going to zoom in. I will zoom in a little bit. So this is just a spreadsheet of a company, which is called Breathe. And this company is a marketplace company, and what they have is just different sources of revenue. Display ad revenue, affiliate revenue, sponsors. They also sell tickets similar to Eventbrite. And you have what was the plan for 4Q23, and what was the actual in terms of how they actually performed. You also have so this is a simple P&L. You have the COGS. You also have the gross profits, R&D, and since this is a digital channel, they don't have any sales spending right now. Most of it is in marketing spend, digital marketing, and of course, G&A. And then you have the total operating expenses and total net loss. You also have the starting bank balance and also the ending cash balance. So just to show you kind of the cash burn of this startup. So typically, before we start the budgeting process, we want to say, okay, well, how did we actually do relative to plan? And one of the things that we can use is actually ChatGPT. I use it all the time to just kind of like run through some analysis. So what I will do is show another chart, another screen here. So this is ChatGPT, and I'm using ChatGPT 4. And what I will do is say, I could actually upload my spreadsheet into ChatGPT. So what I'm going to add the variance chart that I had it. So you'll see the Excel spreadsheet being uploaded, the Breathe variance analysis. And then I will just say, using the data provided, please, using the data, please provide and I could correct my spelling. I would like to see where we overachieve and underachieve for revenues, costs, and cash. So I'm giving it the information. I'm uploading my financial model, and I'm just saying, hey, can you help me do the analysis? And I could actually see it crunching the data in Python. So it's uploading my information, looking at the cells, and it's telling me that it has various revenue streams for the company. It's understanding, well, how do you calculate the variance? And it's telling me, here are the insights. I overachieved, exceeded. So you could quickly run through a spreadsheet that you input, right? Any data source you give it, it will analyze the data for you. And here it is, it's all done for you. And what I can do is also say, look, can you please provide the output in table format? I would also like to see positive variances in green and negative variances in red. Remember, provide the response in dollars, so 2 decimal places. So just give it specific instructions. So it's looking at this.
We actually had a quick question in the chat from Gary. If this what you're doing here in the Chat GPT can be done in the free version of Chat GPT.
Yes. So gives you everything you need, and then the revenues. It's not color coding it now. Column might not be in there, but the variances. Okay, and then all I can do is say, look, you didn't complete it, so do the same thing for the cost items. And that would just kind of save you a little bit of time if you have a lot of things that you want to compare and you haven't created all the formulas just yet, and you want to make sure, look, it tells me that there's other expenses, and it's going to focus on the actual cost lower than planned, indicating savings. It's analyzing the data.
So Mark, I missed it. Is this something that can be done in the free version of ChatGPT?
I think ChatGPT 4 allows you to upload a spreadsheet with the attachment. So I think it's $20 a month. It's something that will potentially save you guys some time. So something to kind of consider. So it'll run through all this data for you. And then, because the first thing you want to do before you start your budgeting process is kind of like, how did I do relative to plan? All this information. And I'm going to go to my financial model now. Now, if you have a big financial model, typically most people will, let me show you a sample model. So this is a big P&L that we've modeled from 2024, 23, all the way to 2026. So it's got everything for the P&L, the ratios, but it also has every single cost items. And I'm sure everyone here has massive spreadsheets as well in terms of kind of like the data that they monitor. We look at things like use of proceeds. We have a KPI dashboard for, we have a summary table. But let's say you just want to do some very basic budgeting to start. So what I can do is actually go back to ChatGPT just to kind of see, okay, what's my starting point? So I will go back to ChatGPT and say, new chat. I want to start a budget for the new year. Or the new year. 2024. Using the provided information, can you please help me prepare for next year's budgeting process? Our SaaS company missed our forecast in 2023, so we want to be more precise in 2024. I will ask for some guidance. I will upload my financial model. And then, so it's analyzing the information in the financial model. And it's going to provide some examples and some suggestions. So it's running through every single page, every single row, column, and just kind of saying, okay, well, let's look at and examine the data to see what recommendations it could provide.
Interesting.
Mark, I just want to say for somebody who's, I guess, relatively new to Chat GPT, this is seems like magic, you know?
And a lot of it is the data the output is the data that you've put into it. So put in your data, clean it up, put it in, and it could actually save you quite a bit of time. And I would say I would like specifics on how to improve the top line. And then as you look through your SaaS company, revenues, it's looking at, okay, what are some of the things and steps that you can take? Understand the different segmented revenues. Should you revisit subscription fees, one-time charges, the ARR number, pricing strategy? What are some of the things that you can do to improve efficiency in sales and marketing efforts? And sometimes what I do is when I do a scenario analysis, I will input two different models and say, hey, look at both models and kind of give me some suggestions. Customer base and things like this. Customer retention, particularly for SaaS, because I want to improve my net dollar retention. So just to kind of give you some information on how to have that discussion with the board, with your CRO, with your CEO, in terms of how do we make 2024 a little bit more precise as we go down the line. The cost items for most of us are very easy to do, right? We can understand the cost inputs. It's about the revenue, the top line, the ARR, and those type of things. And I can, and then if I drill into the specific companies, I can say, I could do it. It seems like it seems my underperformance in 2023 was related to sales performance, sales attainment. Please review the attached spreadsheet on sales performance. So the spreadsheet that I will upload now is on how everybody did in sales. So now I have 50 salespeople. We have a quota of $1.2 million. 1.2 million for 50, and you can tell some people overachieved their quota. Some people met, some people missed. So I have 50 people in my organization, AE. So what I will do for a little bit of assistance, just kind of see how I can represent this, is I will go back to ChatGPT and say, please provide a graphical representation of the sales achievement The quota was 1.2 million per year. And I will attach that spreadsheet, which has the sales attainment data, which I've downloaded from whatever resource that you have. And I want to see how did everybody do. So now ChatGPT, it's for us, we have a pretty lean finance organization. So to have someone crank out all the data, sometimes, you'll end up doing it. So it's good to have some tool to save you a little bit of time. Total of 1.2 million. And now it shows me a nice chart that I could cut and paste. Please provide a download of the chart. So that I can share it with the CEO. So here I can click this and now I have a download of the file, and I could that just saved me a lot of time. I don't have to create all the pictures myself. So this download is in your download folder, so you can actually just cut and paste it. Then the thing is, as I plan for 2024, I want to know how do I get more sales people to outperform in 2024? Please provide a specific action plan, as I have to provide and share the details in our board meeting. So we want to get salespeople ramping better, have more knowledge, and understand kind of like the process better, implement CRM. So it's giving me some recommendations that we might have done already, or that we could actually implement for 2024, so that we could actually hit the top line number. I mean, for most SaaS companies, everything comes down to sales attainment, overachievement, and people meeting their quotas. So looking at all these things, and then it gives me a timeline. Okay, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, so that I could actually have something that makes me look like we have a regular cadence of improvement. And so this is a lot of information, and I have to do a presentation in my company. So I'll say, I want to please summarize this into a presentation so that I can send it to the CRO and the CEO and get their buy-in. Just taking all this information from my model, understanding my sales achievement, and now it's giving me slides that all I have to do is add the bullets to my slide, and I could add the slide pictures that were created from the past and how so I want to improve achievement in 2024.
All right. Mark, we have a question from Anna. Apologies if I said that wrong. Did you train on LLM? Did you train the LLM on SaaS, or is it already trained? Wonder if it shows the same kind of insights on other industries as well.
Sure, that's a good question. So you can actually let it know. For me, the way I've been working at it, it knows that I'm in the SaaS industry. However, you could tell it it's your specific industry. For example, I am the CFO of a manufacturing company. What are my top 10 KPIs? And then as you go through that, it will tell you for your industry, like what the efficiency metrics, and typically it's gross margins and operating margins and cash flow. Or you can say, I am a non-profit organization. Well, should I compare myself to companies doing 50 million a year in donations, for example? So just to give you a sense, once you want to do absolute results, and you also want to do relative comparison to other organizations, for example. And Adriana, you're at a nonprofit organization, so this might be relevant to you.
Correct.
Okay, how do I do relative to other wellness centers around the world for something that's similar size? So that's a good question. So anything for me, mostly marketing, digital marketing, SaaS companies, salespeople, all those things are more relevant, which is why the big chart has the data that I put into it. But feel free to give it the information that's relevant to you, and it'll provide the relevant data in response. Okay. So going back to that revenue variances, okay, we have that. We have the budgeting help for my presentation. I now have a presentation, and I could also you can actually do nice diagrams as well and pictures. Say, please include a nice diagram of a stock chart up and to the right. Something like that, if you wanted to. And ChatGPT now has something called DALL-E, which actually presents information. So you can use DALL-E to just feed it this information, and it'll draw the picture for you. So it's first understanding, what do I need to create? Chart, trend, axes, X and Y, design, annotation. There you go. You have a nice diagram that's created in AI, so you could stick it into your chart. You can say, I am a software company, so please tone it down a little. And you'll get something that's more relevant. Or you could say, make it similar to this chart, and you could upload your latest board deck, and it will use that as well. Okay. And as it's, so it's understanding, and then it'll just give you different diagrams that you could add. Now, the other thing as we look at the budget is, I'm going to show my financial model. So here's the big P&L again for next year, just a rudimentary draft. And I'm looking at 2024 and 2025. We're going to raise some money. We're going to look at the cash balance. We're going to look at total OpEx and those type of things. So just a regular P&L that everyone is very familiar with. And I want to see and calculate without spending hours and hours on my spreadsheet, kind of like what are the big drivers and what are the things that will make some changes, because I just had a meeting and my CEO said, your OpEx is going to be too high. So I'll go back to ChatGPT and say, and then ask for some help. I will say, I am the CFO and I am concerned about the cash runway in my current plan for 2024. Using the attached financial model, please provide some recommendations to reduce my cash burn. And I could upload the model so it knows it and has that for reference. And it'll analyze so you can have multiple scenarios for your budget.
Annette had one more question while this is analyzing. Can you ask it to create the visual in Excel that can then be modified versus a PNG, versus a screenshot or image that can't be?
Yes,
altered?
that's a good point. You can actually say, please provide, I think you can get it in a comma separated value sheet or a CSV or Excel. So you can get the output in Excel. It might not always be clean, but you could definitely get it in Excel. Okay. So some basic things to kind of extend a runway. So it's a qualitative question. So it's going to give you a qualitative response initially. As that's running, actually, let me show where I actually got the output in, one second, in variance. So what I did was look at, okay, let me show variance. So here you'll see that I've asked it to, hey, go through every single item, actual plan, and give me the variance numbers. So it gave me the data in a spreadsheet, which I could just download. So definitely yes. Yeah, the answer to the question is yes. Going back to ChatGPT, it's kind of like, okay, all these things that you want to scrub in terms of expense management, staffing, people, benefits are the biggest costs, right, for a software company. Looking at sales projections, looking at achievement, all those things, and allocating the funds. The other thing that is helpful when we do our budget is just kind of say, okay, well, ask it simple questions like, using this financial model and key.
Derek Sutton, he's asking us too, how do you deal with hallucinations? If I said that right, how much editing do you undertake before sending to your colleagues?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to review everything. A lot of it, when it comes to calculation of numbers, it doesn't hallucinate as much as, giving random recommendations. So that's definitely something to kind of consider. Look, it's at the end of the day, it's a tool. I also use Anthropic every once in a while, just kind of to balance out if I get different responses. It's another AI tool, but definitely you do want to, you don't want to do you want to make sure you look over the data. So I can say using the P&L, the financial model and the P&L tab, if I kept everything the same and I cut my total operating expenses in 2024, and I could tell it it's in cell AN 2028 by 10%, what would that do to my ending cash balance? Cell AN 38, just to kind of say, look, if you're working backwards from a cash number, say the CFO or the CEO or the board says, you got to have this number of months for your runway. I want you to end this quarter with this amount of cash. So you can ask them, you could ask ChatGPT to kind of analyze the data for you. So I use definitely, look, we all use spreadsheets every day. It's critical for our financial modeling and all the P&L analysis, cash flow, operating metrics, KPIs. This is just a tool if you're in a pinch, and look, sometimes you get mistakes because a lot of people might be overusing it. ChatGPT in the afternoon. Sometimes, and it'll restart. So these things definitely happen. And just to give you a sense of how fast this company is growing, I think they did 20 million in ARR their first year of subscription, OpenAI. And I think they went from 20 million a year in ARR to 1.2 billion in ARR like in a year. So that's just phenomenal growth. So it tells me that the total operating expenses was 733. And if I want to reduce it, it'll go down to this number. But it's also saying, look, I want to look at the cash flow. We cannot on the ending cash balance. So just to kind of give you a sense, okay, so you could actually start backwards from your ending cash and then work through there. Now I'm going to do what I'll do now is go back to that the big chart that we started our discussion with that Adriana showed. So the diagram is actually called the Finance and Accounting Guide. I'm going to actually load that entire PDF with all those crazy formulas into ChatGPT. So now it's going to take this information and I'll say, please provide the relevant API metrics that I should strive for in 2024. I am a Series B SaaS company. Please use the provided guide and any external data. I want to be best in class in 2024. So that PDF with all the formulas, it will actually read the document, decipher the formulas, ingest the information, and then use that to provide the relevant information to me.
Mark, this is great. I noticed that there was a question in the chat from somebody about, say proprietary information, or if there's information related to your company. What's best practice when you upload an Excel file? Just make sure you strip out any, identifying information.
Yeah, that's a good point. And what I do, for example, salespeople, I'll just say, hey, give me 50 random salespeople's names so that I could just cut and paste that and then upload that spreadsheet. Or I will take out the names, all the names. So now it's telling me I want to the key thing for SaaS companies, right? Top line growth, ARR growth, net dollar retention, and also profit, CAC, LTV. It's looking at that spreadsheet that Adriana actually mentioned in the beginning. It's going through everything and telling me what are the top ones for me as a SaaS company. And you can do the same for, hey, I'm a manufacturing company or I'm a nonprofit organization. What are the metrics that are more relevant to me? Okay. And then it's kind of like, as I go through the entire budgeting process, the other things that I want to go, I can look at is where are some opportunities to be a little bit more efficient? I can say, using the guide, I provide some guidance in how our marketing department can be more efficient. They just love spending money, but I am not sure our company is getting their returns. So it's now searching for relevant information on the marketing KPI.
Can I ask another question, please?
Please.
Is this, I see how you're putting in your request. It's almost as if you're feeding this information to another, like, human, if you will.
Yeah.
So I guess the best practice is when you do put in information, put it with that context, if you will, so that it's easier for the machine to understand.
Exactly. And then what you'll find is also sometimes if you have a spreadsheet where it's formatted as $1, but it's actually date, it'll confuse it. Because now it's like it's starting off as a date, but it's looking for dollars, for example, or things like that. So the formatting is actually very important, which is why text information is easier for it to decipher at the moment than a lot of spreadsheets. So it tells you these are the key things for ROI metrics and also for marketing efficiency. Say, I have a meeting with my head of marketing. She will ask for more money next year. Using the data, and you create a slide that to show how we can be more efficient. So this helps with our interdepartment marketing communications, because when I do my budgeting, I do it by department. I talk to the engineering department, the R&D, marketing. They always want to ask for more money. So it's kind of like, how do we get the data first? I have the data as it relates to the variance in 2023. Understand they will probably want to just randomly grow at 20%, but why? What are the metrics? If I can show, look, these are the things that we want to look at, because that's what investors care about. Can you help me do a little bit more with your marketing budget in 2024? So to look at the information.
Hey, Mark, this is Anand. I wonder if I can pop in a quick one here. This is almost like paying $20 a month for a financial analyst who can sometimes hallucinate, but my job is to make sure I check on what the system is doing. However, many companies, including the last one I worked at, they banned ChatGPT because of privacy of data. Is there a way to put in some verbiage at the start of each session to say, do not capture anything I'm saying and train your model, almost like using the incognito browser in Google Chrome? Is there such an option?
I'm not sure. And then I'm a finance person, so I'm not a ChatGPT expert, right? It's more the tools that we use. So I think the companies some are banning it, some recognize, look, it's part of it. Everyone is using it, so why? But I think it's also be sensitive to Mahib's point with your data and your sensitive information. Scrub it, because look, in the end, we want the output. And now that I've ran through that, I can actually show it, download the presentation, and now I have a PowerPoint presentation created. Okay, and then I could schedule a meeting, and then let's go through these key steps. Marketing efficiency, and then I can cut and paste the metrics if I want it from the guide. Just format this presentation, and it just saved me a lot of time, and a little bit more buy-in from the marketing department.
Actually, who was it? We had a person ask a question, or like I think you had already alluded to it, that maybe do we take out the company name before uploading the data, Guri? Should we remove references to the company name and people's names? Like when you talk about scrubbing data, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I would. I mean, it just takes, you can just cut and paste, replace it with fake names. And you can actually just do a search and replace for company name and just do that with one button. So I would definitely use that as a best practice to scrub the data. Now, there are enterprise tools that are coming, and there are where you can actually connect ChatGPT to your entire company Dropbox or Google Drive. So think about that, where now it'll look through every single information. And I actually tried a demo. For example, I would type in, I forgot how many stock options this guy has. Can you tell me? And it will just go through Carta and tell me right away without me, it'll look at my cap table and tell me right away. Or I want to figure out, look, if I can afford to give this 12 people a retainer bonus, what would that do? And it will just calculate the numbers for me. That's for me right away. So 1 second. So the starting point, will depend on your industry, but we hope that the data on this presentation is helpful, and if you do have any interest, we can send this to you. And feel free to load this into ChatGPT as well. I mean, every single formula that you could ever possibly want, I think, for a SaaS company is here. If you have another industry, let us know. Maybe we can create one for other industries in the future. But we created this so that we could share it with our FENG members and provide some a handy reference poster. I actually printed mine out. It's on my wall, so if I need to quickly look at it, I could just look at it, cut and paste it, and say, ChatGPT, I want you to take these metrics and calculate it from my model for my board meeting. So that will help you save some time. So that's all I had. I hope today's discussion was helpful. I mean, we kind of all know what we need to do, but it's like, how do we do it on a day-to-day basis using some of the tools that are out there, so that we could be a little bit more efficient, have the data at our fingertips, look confident, and also have that good meeting with the CRO, CEO, and also the head of marketing when it comes to the KPI metrics.
So let me ask you another question. Does it, so if it's your 15th year anniversary, can you type in, I want to, buy a present for my wife for 15th year anniversary, and to give you like, I don't mean, I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm just saying that it's very broad, right? You could pretty much type in anything.
Yeah. What year anniversary was that?
15.
15, 15. Okay. Well, let's actually see. We'll go back to that. What are the top anniversary? My wife enjoys. Give me a couple of sentences. Give me a couple.
Enjoys sushi and chocolate.
And
Chocolate.
now it's actually browsing, so it's actually not looking at data from 2020. September. It's looking at popular websites because this is a query that people have typed into Bing and into Google search. So it's actually looking.
Nuts.
Interesting.
Wow.
Ruby. So
Crazy.
it'll give you the sources too, so you could actually click onto the sources as well. So it'll tell you where it's getting the information.
Wow. Impressive.
It's just a tool. So I hope the guide is helpful. So please let us know how we can be helpful to our colleagues in FANG, and we'll continue to help out each other as we get our budget ready for next year.